Good afternoon to you, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the 15th of October, 2013. The Atlantic Basin, very, very quiet right now. Nothing out there with any chance of development, it looks like, over the next several days. There's a very weak surface low here near Jacksonville, Florida. There's another very weak one here to the southeast of Cape Hatteras. This, the leftover vorticity max of Karen, believe it or not, tracking that all the way out of the Caribbean here, and then it died off, went up, came back down, and then this little area of spin or vorticity right there. I think you can just barely see it. Very, very weak, dry air through this area, not going to allow anything to develop. The rest of the Atlantic Basin plagued by strong upper-level winds cutting across, and just a lack of organization to any of the thunderstorm clusters that we see. And it looks like nothing is going to develop over the next several days. However, maybe, if we go look way far out in time here, at least in model land, this is 8 days from now, so this will be valid on the 23rd of October, a week from tomorrow. Keep your eye on this area right here in the western and northwestern Caribbean Sea. Maybe something tries to organize there. That is the climatological favorite area, so we'll see. Other than that, nothing really going on in the Atlantic Basin, which is expected this time of year. The odds of something developing from here on out really start to get lower. In the eastern Pacific, Tropical Depression Octave inland now over the Baja, and it'll slowly die away. And finally, some of this moisture that's left over will dwindle off, and that'll be the end of that. Some of that deep moisture tracking northeast into Texas and points to the north and east of there. Into the southwest of Octave is Tropical Storm Priscilla. No worries from Priscilla at all, as it'll stay, as you can see here, away from the Mexican coastline, so we don't have to worry about that. Meanwhile, in the western Pacific, Typhoon Wifa here, headed towards Japan. Looks like it's going to cross just to the east of Tokyo Bay. Looking at the infrared satellite shot, this looks very, very similar to Hurricane Floyd in 1999 that impacted North Carolina after ravaging the Bahamas. You see a lot of upper-level divergence out ahead of it here as a trough digs in, helping to really whisk away a lot of the energy. Still very warm water temperatures here, 79, 80 degrees. It's dumping a lot of rainfall across the region, but the core, the worst part of it, if we draw a line here right along the track and divide it into quadrants, this quadrant right here, that right front quadrant, if you just move it on out and follow the track, would stay to the east of Tokyo, which is right there, Tokyo Bay. So the right front quadrant should stay offshore the coast of Japan, and that includes even up near Fukushima, where that disabled nuclear power plant remains in quite a bit of turmoil after the 2011 massive earthquake and tsunami in that region. I know some folks were kind of hyping up, oh no, a typhoon coming for the disabled nuclear reactor. Luckily, the worst of it will pass well to the east of there, especially the core of the strongest winds and the heaviest precip. It certainly won't be a pleasant day, and it'll give the officials that are dealing with that still ongoing disaster a little bit more of a challenge, but it's not going to be some doomsday scenario coming up with some monster typhoon going nuclear coming over a disabled reactor. That's just a bunch of hogwash. Though it is something they need to keep in mind, and I assure you that the Japanese Meteorological Agency is all over it and talking to the people there closely, and it'll be under control at least as much as it can be. So it was just interesting. I read some tweets from some people that were all upset about it and thought that that was going to be another big calamity, but it won't. It certainly won't. Well, that is it. Nothing else to talk about, and that's good news. The tropics nice and quiet in the Atlantic Basin. The typhoon in the West Pacific will be but a memory for Japan by this time tomorrow, and their infrastructure is such that aside from the very heavy rainfall, which of course there's not much you can do about that except have pretty good drainage systems in place, things should return to normal for Japan pretty quickly. They recover nice and fast due to their long history of lots and lots of encounters with typhoons. All right, well, that is it from me for today. Have a good rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. For Hurricane Pro in HD, I'll be back with another video blog for you tomorrow.